Hi, and welcome to the I Teach Myself podcast. My name is Matthew Miniman, and this is episode 121. What can Constantinople teach us about your security stack? So, a few episodes ago, we covered Constantinople in brief in the episode titled, What Can the Fall of the Roman Empire Teach Us About the Beginnings of Cybersecurity? And we kind of skirted over Constantinople. Constantinople is no longer, it is now Istanbul. If you're a fan of We Might Be Giant or They Might Be Giants, or you paid even the least bit of attention in high school history, you probably already knew that. Constantinople is now Istanbul, and it was captured by the Turks. That's basically it. But it stood for a long ass time. This is a city that had stood for over 1,000 years, from basically 337 to 1452. That's over 1,000 years. It's almost 1,100 years that this city stood. And if you are curious about, why it's important as a city, it's interesting because it was founded by Constantine, Emperor Constantine of the Roman Empire, founded Constantinople basically as a vacation home. We'll put it that way. It's as close as they can get to a vacation home or a vacation city for the seat of the Roman Empire. And, they were bored back then. They didn't really have a whole lot. They didn't have Valve or Steam, so they couldn't play Civilization. So, they had to figure out other ways to entertain themselves. Founding cities and then naming them after themselves is what they did. So beyond that, Constantinople, where it's founded, it's actually in an interesting place within what is now Turkey, but it sits between the Mediterranean Sea and the Black Sea, and there's a channel that goes between them, and there's a river that surrounds Istanbul on one side. There's this channel. This river goes from the north. It comes from the north and surrounds Istanbul's north side. There is this channel that comes down and covers Istanbul from the west side, and then there's Mediterranean Sea on the south. So Constantinople rather, is surrounded by water on three sides. So it's a peninsula, and this is important because this makes it easy to defend, because ships can be repelled, and there's only one side that you need to watch for armies. So Constantinople was founded in this area on top of an already founded city, or a previously founded city, called Byzantium. And so when you hear about the Roman Empire and the Byzantium Empire, they are the same thing in a lot of ways. The Byzantium Empire, so when the city of Rome fell in the 400s, the seat of the Roman Empire actually moved to Constantinople and became the Byzantine Empire. And the only reason it's called the Byzantine Empire is because the Roman Empire split into two empires, the East Empire and the West Empire. The West Empire fell, the East Empire was still there, but they had to be differentiated. So one was called the Byzantium Empire because their primary city was founded originally as Byzantium, not Constantinople, which is a really weird and complicated way to discuss that. But anyway, a lot of shit happened, all right? History is long and complicated. Anyway, so Constantinople was founded, and when it was founded, they needed to defend Constantinople from Rome's enemies. And so in order to do this back in the day, they would build walls. And so originally they built these walls to surround the city, and they surround the city on all sides. So even the sides of the city that are facing water, they built walls to protect the city. Not only did they build walls to protect the city from on the seaside, but they also built like chains that sit underneath the water, so they could bring those taut and basically halt ships in their path, potentially sinking them if they did enough damage to the ships. The walls were then also manned with certain types of fire dispersion systems, or fire delivery systems, I guess, to sink enemy ships as they came in and attempted to hit the walls. But then the walls that face the the east side of the city, or face out the east side of that peninsula, those walls are thick and manned. They are tall, at least 30 feet tall, and are manned by soldiers 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And the way that the land sits around Constantinople, you can see armies from a long way off from Constantinople. And so as enemies approach, you can prepare your defenses or bring in reinforcements from the outside. And this allows you to build your defense of Constantinople, of this city, really well. And again, because this is the vacation home of the Roman Empire, they want nice things in their city. And so they do things like they have a bunch of art. The walls of Constantinople are absolutely fantastic. They have iconoclasts everywhere. There's gilding, there's sconces and worked art into the walls. I mean, the entire city itself is a work of art. There's just absolutely a ton of stuff that's there, and it's a really nice place. Like it's unique in these times because it has this art, it has this different feel as a city because it is so beautiful. It's got so much in the way of culture and art built into it, which also makes it a target because art means riches. Because they have enough time, there's gold everywhere in this fucking city. I mean, it's a place that would probably make Donald Trump. Never mind. I am going to avoid that joke. Anyway, the whole point being that it's a city that is tempting for the enemies of Rome to attempt to attack. But when they do attempt to attack it, they are very much repelled because of these walls. They can't attack by sea because the harbor, the sea is protected. There's chains, there's walls, there's fire. There's really no way to attack it by sea that makes sense. Attacking it by land, they can see us coming from far off. They can prepare their armies. They can prepare their defense. But they can also bring in reinforcements at will because they can come in from the sea. So in order to attack the city, it's an insane proposition. There's really just no way to do this. So that's what allows Constantinople to stand for so fucking long. And again, there are a ton of attempts to attack this city, and they're surrounded by enemies constantly. And as the city ages, they actually get surrounded more and more. And as the city, as we get closer and closer to the fall of Constantinople, a lot of different things happen. They stop manning the walls as much because, well, the walls have always stood. They're always going to stand. So we don't need to man the walls as much. They also lose a lot of the citizens of Constantinople. They either leave or are pushed out because of internal strife, but also the surrounding area becomes the territory of the Ottomans, the Ottoman Turks. And that causes a significant amount of stress on the city. So a lot of things conspire to cause Constantinople to fall, but the walls are still there. The walls are still in defense. The thing that causes the walls to fall and eventually, and by virtue of the walls falling, Constantinople to fall, is the invention of gunpowder and siegecraft, and more specifically, the introduction of the bombard, artillery, and cannon. These weapons cause the walls to become obsolete. They are no longer enough to protect the city. And because they don't have enough manpower to defend themselves, there's just no way for Constantinople to remain unpillaged, unsacked, uncaptured. And when it's captured, as we know from the song, it no longer is Constantinople. It becomes Istanbul, because that's what happened. That's what happens. It was not just a victory it was not just a victory by the capture of the city. It was also a victory in spirit. The Ottoman Turks were able to capture this holy city. They were able to sack it. They were able to get all the treasure that was inside it. They didn't get Aladdin's treasure, but they did get whatever treasure was left in the city. And that is that's the fall of Constantinople, and the ultimate fall of the Roman Empire. So what can this teach us about your cybersecurity stack? Well, as we've discussed quite a few times in the past, it is not enough to just rely on a single tool. It is not enough to stay static in your defense. You always have to be evolving your defenses. You always have to be improving your defenses. You have to be looking at what else you can add to your security stack. A modern approach to security and mature approach to security is to continually look at the gaps in your security coverage and look to cover those one way or another. A lot of organizations believe that antivirus is enough to protect them, and it's not. There are other ways to attack you. There are living off the land attacks. There's fileless attacks. There's advanced persistent threats. There is this entire society that is dedicated to attacking you as a customer. And again, people attack small businesses just as hard as they attack large businesses. Fortune 500 company gets attacked the exact same fucking way as a mom and pop shop. If an attacker knows you got $5, they're going to attack you for that $5 because $5 is $5. They don't give a shit. So one of the things that we need to understand as security practitioners is that we need to continue to develop and implement new tools as they come across. Just 5 years ago, we didn't have things like SOAR and SAM implemented as part of the security stack. We had a SIM, and that was it. We had XDR, we had MDR, we had EDR, but it's not enough to just have those tools and expect yourself to maintain security. You can't just rely on antivirus. You have to have additional things to detect when PowerShell or trusted applications start doing things they're not supposed to. You need to have something that protects your barrier. You need to have privileged identity management where you are protecting your admin passwords. You need to have a way to authenticate users so that you can trust that when they sign in, it is them who is actually signing in. You need to have multi-factor authentication. You need to have, trusted locations set up. You need to have all of these things set up, and it can be very complicated and difficult for somebody to do on their own, which is why you need security practitioners in your environment to do this work. It is not enough to have antivirus. It is not enough to have a single point of failure or a single thing to protect you. You can't just rely on the walls of Constantine to protect you, because eventually the Turks will develop a cannon, or they will storm you with enough manpower. It is not enough for you to rely on a single solution to solve your security needs. You need to continually evolve them. If you offshore that to somebody who's doing that for you, cool, but also audit. Make sure those things are being done properly. One of the reasons that the city of Constantine fell is that they relied on outsourced armies. Basically, they paid other armies to protect them, and those could no longer be trusted. Those could no longer be there to protect them because they had other things to do. They had other people to protect. They had other clients who were paying them to sack the city instead. So there's a lot there. There's a lot of different things that have happened or that can happen to your environment, and you need to make sure that you're protecting yourself against all of those things. Security awareness training. The list goes on. I could go on forever about all the things you need to add to your environment and to your security stack. But the point being is that you can't just stay static in your tool set. You need to make sure that you have and are building additional tools. Again, antivirus is not enough. And specifically, if you're in an enterprise environment and you have an organization that has data that you need to keep secure, Windows Defender is not enough for you. You cannot just rely on Windows Defender to protect you, which is the default antivirus that is installed on all Windows devices. You need to have something additional. Windows Defender is good and it's great, and there are a lot of positives that Microsoft has done with it, but you need an additional layer on top of it. You need something that's looking just the next step deeper, the next layer deeper, so we can detect those attacks that are coming at you that defender isn't going to hit. There are a lot of different ways to attack you that defender can't protect you against. So you need an additional security layer, whether that's Defender for Endpoint, which is the other Microsoft product that doesn't sound like another Microsoft product, but is another Microsoft product. You need Defender for Endpoint to help protect you. You also need additional protection. You need somebody looking at your computer 24/7. If you're doing business on your computers 24/7 and they aren't turned off at night, you probably need somebody looking at your systems all of the time. You need somebody looking at your servers, the things that are running 24/7, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You need somebody looking at your edge and identifying malicious traffic coming in or malicious traffic coming out. You need these things that identify all of this, because otherwise you're just kind of sitting static. You're just kind of sitting still. And without updating these feeds and making sure that you're keeping on top of the latest threats, you will be left unprepared. You will not be prepared for the cannon to come to your front door and bust it down and then take all of your riches, because that's what's happening. The malicious actors out there are the Turks. They have surrounded you. They are on the countryside, and they are slowly but surely trying to work their way into your organization. They will attempt to do it all of the time. And it is a trope, or I don't know. It's cliche to say in the security industry, but it is not if you are going to get hacked. It is when you are going to get hacked. When are you going to get hacked? Because it's going to happen. It is not an if. You will be hacked. You will be attacked. You will be breached. It is not if, but when. And so having a layered security approach and making sure that you have tools to respond and identify and maintain confidentiality, maintain integrity, maintain availability of your environment, that is what dictates a mature security posture and what will make sure that you survive an attack. Because it might not be this attack that gets you. It might not be the first attack that gets you. It might not be the 100th attack that gets you. But be sure that there will be an attack against your environment that will cause you to collapse, that will cause your city to fall, and the rest of your organization to go with it. Because if there's one thing that Constantinople has taught us, it's that walls are not enough, and we always have to maintain our vigilance. And I think that's all I got time for today, guys. I hope you all have a great day.